some way about how I think about it and how I have experienced about it. Um, Whether it is a sari with a pocket, it does exist, by the way. So the women in the group can try to buy. I'm not an ambassador for this company, but it's a well-known company in Chennai. You can buy this sari from them, or from, like I said, to Siri. So everything has innovation, right? Even if you look at how the COVID situation, I'm happy to say last year, because we are over it almost, how COVID has given a lot of innovations as well. In May, June, I come from Bangalore. So all these restaurants were shut around that time, right? April, May, June. So one of the things I was thinking at that time for a Italian restaurant, was a pizza restaurant, was who used to typically sell pizzas. Maybe it's not a bad thing that they sell the ingredients to make a pizza so that people could take it home once the first relaxation was there. So it took a couple of months, but apparently they did that. And in by around August, they had already done that innovation, that they used to give you an ingredient pack, do it yourself kind of a concept. So innovation happens all the time in all the companies, in all the places, because that's the first myth, that it is dedicated to high tech companies and so on and so forth. No, it's not. So even a Ramraj dhoti is an innovation with the Velcro, or with the ready-made stuff, pocket for your phone and stuff like that. So um, in 2018, if you were to Google a word called innovation, so in 2018, if you Googled the word innovation, you would get the first number, 1.2 billion. Sorry, yeah, about give and take a few. And if you Google the same word today, okay, the number below is today's number, is close to 1.8 billion. Now that means you can see just in 2 years, okay, it was February 2018, and now it's not even 2 years, strictly speaking, but you can see how much there is traction about this topic, right? So it's close to, yeah, 790 minus 240 million. So that's close to 55. So 550 million topics have been added to the body of knowledge. Interestingly, if you Google the word innovator, just a small change, but very important, you will start to see that in 2018, you would get 55 million hits about, and today you get close to 86 million hits. It is an order of magnitude lesser. While I can express the lower number innovator in millions, the innovation number is in billions. Now, this is where the crux of the issue is, which Nirmal also touched upon in the introduction, how people can be the key piece in the innovation. That's one of the parts of my research as well, which started way back in 2012-13. It's a kind of a wake-up call. So it's a very short clip of what this wake-up call means, right? It's too short. Sometimes people miss it. So I'm going to play it one more time. Many of us are like the kid in the front of this camera, the kid facing us right now. We pretend, because nobody knows that this kid actually missed that moment. He was dozing off and he was lost in something. But he pretends that he's in the moment, right? By clapping and stuff like that. Nobody else is scared about what he's doing. They don't bother. But if I and you were this kid, I think we have missed a moment. So this wake-up call is for us to think, am I in the game for innovation? Am I in the game to be a world-class innovator as such, right? So like I said, it's important that we make people, if you look at the Google search numbers that I shared a moment earlier, it's in millions, which it should be in billions, at the other way around. So we've made innovation too much a process thing, scaring people away from being good innovators. All of us are very capable, and we have been innovators throughout our life. A simple example is those who have kids. You know how you deal with them, or even kids how they deal with you, with us as parents, right? They are also innovative. The other example is when you're driving and a police catches you. Maybe you don't have your license, you didn't take it with you, or you don't have the registration, etc. and then we become very innovative in finding excuses, right? So, and when we were in college, we used to, if as a gang, if you used to go out for a movie or a restaurant, and somebody in the group says, no, I'm not interested, I don't like that movie, I don't like that hero, you will find innovative ways to convince them. So we have been actually practicing innovation throughout our life, but now we have to put it in practice in a different context for our business. So how does business innovation connect? Is through research, actually. So if you look at this picture, there is a closed loop, right? Research is connected to innovation, innovation is connected to business, business is connected back to research. So how does it work? Let me explain. Research converts, this is a very nice definition given by Dr. Nicholson. Research converts money into knowledge. Okay, think about it. We sponsor a project, we take up a research project. We assign a college project to somebody, some researchers, to find out something. So usually you get a project report out of it, some new knowledge, some new process, some new insight. So that is a outcome that you get from a research. So you put money in, you get knowledge out. Innovation does the opposite. It takes this knowledge and creates money back, right? So you take that knowledge and you create money out of it. So let me give an example. If a research project said we have a new material called carbon composite material, so we funded a project, and this project gave us a very detailed report of how this new material is stronger than aluminum, stronger than steel, very tensile strength is high, ductility is very high, etc., etc., etc. We got new knowledge about a new component. Now, what does innovation do? Innovation proposes to make a product which should be lighter by design. So what is a product that could be lighter by design? An aircraft, a suitcase. So these are the products which the lighter it is, the better it is. Why should a suitcase be lighter? Imagine you're taking this in a cabin luggage in an aircraft. You have a 7 kg limit. If the cabin luggage weighs 2 kgs, your payload, things that you can put in the luggage, is 5 kgs. But if the cabin luggage weighs 1 kg instead of 2, you have 1 more kg to take with you. So for an aircraft, it is millions of dollars per trip, right? In the whole business of an airline. So research funded a project, came up with a new knowledge. Innovation took that knowledge, which is lightweight material, made it into a product. Now, what does business do? That's very interesting. This business scales this project. So they don't make one plane, they make hundreds of them. They make them. So Dreamliner is a classic example of carbon composite material based aircraft. So they have saved millions of dollars in money and in carbon footprint, etc., etc., etc. So now the part of that money from the business comes back to research. So that's why none of them can exist alone. Research, innovation, nor business can exist alone. So when you understand this picture, you know why, for example, the management students would know a typical technology company says we spend 4% of our sales in R&D. So that is a dotted line. 4% of their annual sales is put into R&D. Some spend more, some spend less, but that's a figure of merit that you need to know, because that is a source of an input to innovation, but it's not guaranteed. With that proof of concept, you build a business, right? So hope this is clear, because this is very important for you to remember. Now, what is innovation by itself? The simplest definition that I can give you for you to remember is something which is new and useful. Now, trust me, doing something new is not hard. Doing something new is very easy. Let's take a movie. It's very easy to make new movies. How many new movies do actually become successful, right? So the new and useful are very different concepts. They are different parameters. It's very easy to make new, like this. Actually, I was shocked when I saw this picture a year ago. I thought, why would somebody make a one-sleeved shirt? Because it is new. And to my horror, it does exist. I don't know how many people buy it, by the way. So new is just by itself is not innovation. Being different is also not innovation. This is a new fad today that, I'm different. Yeah, your product can be different. Your service can be different. But different by itself, the picture says, is not necessarily useful. So it's very important to understand that new can be useful, which is seen in this video. So it costs about $25, and it's quite useful. People in the ranches where you don't have a place to keep it, or you want to keep your hands free for a while, and it takes a long time to finish a bottle of beer for some people. So it is very useful, and that's what makes something very innovative. And it's not necessary that only some businesses need innovation. Like I said in the beginning, every business needs innovation through new products, new services, new processes, new models. A McDonald's gives the same burger, same fries, but when you drive in through the McDrive, right? So new ways of delivering the same service, new business models, right? Uber, Ola is a new business model. The car owner is not connected to the user directly. So also through patents and IP, which is a very underutilized concept in innovation, how you can license a patent and make money. But remember, in the end, you need to make money through your innovation. If your innovation does not make money in the context of a business, it's not very relevant for the business. So how can you do it? You can do it in two ways. Innovation can help the top line or the bottom line or both. So what does top line mean? In this case, it helps you make more money. So you can sell more products. You can add more features to your product, and you can charge for that product. So if you give an ABS to a car, maybe you can charge more. If you give 4 airbags more to a car, you can give more, charge more to that. Bottom line is spending less. So you innovate something in your warehouse, in your car painting process, where you waste less paint, cost you less money to paint, etc., etc. So in the end, your profit increases either way. So that's why I said you can do top line only, or you can do bottom line only, or you can do both, right? Now, to do anything about innovation, like I said, the new part is easy. To make it useful, you should understand the context in which your innovation is going to be used. It's one of the most powerful, but also most under represented fact in innovation. This video gives you that exact message and how it looks if it is not. Yeah, the guy who walked away from the truck feels he has innovated something, he has helped someone, he has created a wonder of the world. But look at the horror of this person on the screen. He did not even know the problem and what was the reason that this so-called solution came into picture, right? So most of the startups do this mistake. And that's why contextual awareness is the new intelligence, right? Data is not the new intelligence, the contextual understanding of the data or the information, because this gives you context. What is the problem? Why is the problem? It is like asking a simple question: is killing a problem? It depends on the context, right? If you're defending yourself, if you're in trouble, and you have to do that as the only way to survive from a bad element, then it's okay. So context makes all the difference. So if you say, is knife good or bad, you cannot answer that question unless you know whether you're cutting a throat or cutting a tomato. So the whole idea is, when do we have to convert an innovation into business, that is where we do lose a lot of those impact of innovation. We think innovation will sell by itself. Like I said in the beginning, research creates a new concept. Edison knew already before Edison made the bulb. It was proven that when electricity passes through a filament, it gets hot and there is a light that is emitting. But you cannot give wires to people and ask them to heat it up and as a source of light. So you had to make that innovation work into a business concept, a business viable thing where they can buy it and use it as a product. And that's what Edison did. So the conversion loss is how you put this new concept into a business viable solution. That's exactly where it goes wrong. Like I said, in 2018, a study was done around Bangalore startups, like I said, where 95% of them fail. And it's nothing to do with Bangalore. It's all over the world. Even in Canada, the figures are about 90, 92%. The whole problem is why only 5% of them succeed. So they also studied and published the top 3 reasons. The first reason is they build something that nobody wants. Throughout the world, this is a reason in different forms and shapes, but it all comes back to the same thing, that you have a product which people do not want, right? Now, also there are other two, three reasons, but for us, for this discussion, it's more important to remember that. So now the question for today's discussion is, can we become an innovator, right? Like I said, we all have this trait, especially the problem solving mindset fuels this behavior. The actual question is this: do you really want to be innovator? Because if so, then you will find ways, otherwise you will find excuses. So the key question is, if the answer is yes to this question, we'll get into the crux of the presentation today. So the 10 things that I have experienced that great innovators do, and which makes a real difference how we become successful. Number one, context. So how do you develop context? So these successful innovators, they always ask two questions: why and so what, right? So I'll give you an example of how it happens. So when I was in my previous job, I was supposed to do a technology product. So what was that technology product? It was supposed to be for a kitchen. It was supposed to be something cool in the kitchen, which is, I'm talking about 5 or 6 years ago already. So at that time, IoT was peaking, starting to. So as a technologist and head of innovation, I said, let me do an induction cooktop. You all know an induction cooktop, um, which looks like this. So this cooktop does, yeah, you can put an induction compatible vessel on it and you can use it for cooking efficiently. So what was my innovation then? So my innovation at that time was to build technology, right? So I had put an IoT induction cooktop. So what does it do? I could just take my mobile phone. I had built an app on that. I worked with some teams to build an IoT inside this cooktop. So he could control the cooktop with my phone. That was the innovation. So my mother is my test case, validator. So I went home, put on a dining table. Like I said, I always remember this very clearly. Connected the induction cooktop. Then she was to my right, and then I fiddled with my phone, took out my phone and everything, and finally I pressed button. The app opened and pressed few more button. Finally, I pressed one button on my phone and the induction cooktop switched on. So she is 8th standard pass. Okay, she is not PhD or anything. So I was excited and looked at her. See, I could switch on the induction cooktop. She said, "So what?" I said, "What do you mean, so what?" Because I said, "I use my app to switch it on. Isn't it cool?" She said, "You're standing in front of it. Why do you need an app?" I said, "Yeah, that's a good point." So, but I could not, let's say, take the defeat, so to say. So I was traveling abroad to China actually the next day. So I told her I can switch it on from China through my app. Then she looked at me again. She said, "Why? Why would you do that?" So I have to make an ISD call to you. So I have kept rice. Can you please switch on? Then you will switch on. Then after some time, I have to make another ISD call. Say, can you switch off? So it's basically she was saying, just don't just do it, right? So I think these two questions are used by these very powerful, successful innovators, and it can dissect. I have used it in practically every startup that comes to me for mentoring. Why and so what? It is only the sincerity that stops you from getting the right answer, nothing else. And this can be applied for any technology, any domain, just by asking these two questions: why and so what. The perceived value. So the perceived value is very important. The reason it's called perceived value is we as innovators always think our innovation is valuable, like I just said, right? We always believe it is valuable for us, but it has to be valuable to the guy who pays for it, right? So you and me, let's think of us as customers. So we go to a supermarket or a shop. What do? We want to buy something from some company, some product, some service. So what do we give actually is we give money, right? So today is digital, but in effect, we are giving money. So what do we get in return? We're not getting a product, we're not getting a service, we're getting a value for something. So if I want to buy, the other day I checked about 28 toothpaste in a supermarket. So I'm not going to buy 28 toothpaste because somebody made 28 types of toothpaste. I'll buy one which I want to have and which I think is valuable for me. So I am looking for what's in it for me. If it is charcoal, it is charcoal. If it is ash, it is that. If it is something else, if it is something else. But I decide what I think is valuable for me because I pay the money. So as an innovator, you have to think, what is the guy who is paying the money thinking about your innovation as? Does he or she think its innovation is valuable? Then you have a chance. If only you think, then you don't have a chance. So in other words, these two should meet. What you think, and like I said, 95% of the times they don't meet. That's why customers don't like to have any of the products of the startups which fail, right? So perceived value is the value that the user finds it, not the maker. Now, creating dots, not connecting dots, is what these guys do. Connecting dots is second order, second level. The first level is to create dots. So you have to read different things, you have to create new experiences, you have to do different things different ways, so that you have a very rich uh, exposure to things, because this will help you create good context, right? So when you have new dots in your radar, you are going to be different than everyone else, and that's your own experience, that's your uniqueness. So not to brag, but when Nirmal spoke about, I try to do different things, whether it's acting in a movie or drawing a cartoon, or uh, doing scuba diving or flying a plane. You have to have different kinds of dot in your life, so that it becomes very diverse, multified experiences. Innovation is not one technology angle. It is a contextual angle. It's a techno managerial angle. It's a business angle, right? Problem. Most of the startups which fail also start with an idea. So the right side bulb is a happy bulb, which is the idea, but the left side bulb is also a happy bulb, which is a problem. If you have found a problem for which you don't know the solution, it's still worth than having a solution for a problem which is not valuable. So these innovators always start with the problem in mind. Let me explain this in a different way. If you start with an idea, which people do normally, I have an app, I have this, I have that. No, that's not a problem. What is the reason that there is a problem today, right? So if you start with a solution, which is an idea, it is like starting with a medicine in mind and then trying to find a disease for it. It's as stupid as that, because in the end, it is just serendipity that will help you, not innovation or anything else. So always start with the problem, not with the solution. You should be able to visualize, you should be able to understand, articulate using images, because thinking language is not words. Language is almost a filter, about 7 to 8 10%, depending on how fast you can think. But thinking images, if you can draw, suppose you are coming up with an innovative helmet, you should be able to draw it in some form and shape. When you draw it, you cannot be vague, but you can be wrong. That's still okay, you can correct it, but whatever you can draw, it's clear to you, and it can be incomplete, it can be wrong, but it cannot be vague. So you have to think in images using white sheets, paper, drawing skills, whatever. It's not the art part of it, it's the articulation part of it that you need to understand. You need to don three different roles if you want to be a successful innovator. One of them is in the initial part as an artist, right? The second part is where you look at it as a scientist. And the third part is where you look at it as an industrialist. What are these three roles? The artist is always thinking of possibilities. What can I do? How can I do? How can I solve this problem, etc. It's about multiple options, very creative in approach, and very divergent in approach. As a scientist, you start to test your solution. If I talk about the helmet, oh, I should have this helmet, it should cool my head, blah blah blah, it should keep my hairstyle intact, it should not create dandruff, all sorts of things. As a scientist, you focus on data now. This is the role you play after you finished your picking your innovation. Be ruthless and test exactly how it is going to solve the problem, whether the data is helping you. I have seen enough and more startups also, like the survey said, 95% of them actually are in the la la land when it comes to how it actually works. They think this is how it works, but it does not work. Third one is very different thing, more a VC, more an industrialist approach is, why should we do this? How many people can afford this? How many people can buy this? How many should we make it? Which country should we get into this market, and so on. Very different questions. First was about options, second was about data, third was about scaling and industrial applicability. So you need to be able to don these three roles at one stage or the other to be complete as an innovator, right? So there is another problem with how we approach innovation as a person. So if you want to be a world-class innovator, you need to understand how you use your mind, right? What does it mean? We are all trained to be logical. Okay, we take pride, nothing wrong, but we have placed extra emphasis because we have forgotten intuition. Intuition is the millions of years of artificial intelligence put into our head, right? So we are taking pride that AI can solve many problems, and that is already what we have in our system. But we are not using that in balance. We are sticking to one side, that is the left side, and that's what Einstein said, which I love, is the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society, and he is talking about Western world specifically, which we are following now too much. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. So that means the problem is this: logic takes you from one known to another known. So okay, There is smoke, that means because you know fire causes smoke, you think there is could be a fire there, right? But intuition takes you from one known to an unknown. Okay, how did Archimedes or Newton discover the laws of gravity, for example? When he was sitting in Princeton, he did not have the laws of gravity which he verified. First he had an intuitive flash that when the apple fell, when he was sitting in the bitter winter, very depressed, he saw the apple fall. Then he said something is pulling the apple. That was the intuitive strike that happened to him, which said, I have a new known. Okay, that is unknown today. Later he put formulas, hypothesis, data collection, experiments, then it became known to us. So it goes through the same life cycle, known to new known, unknown, and then it becomes a new known, and then becomes a known. So the whole idea is that don't kill your intuition too much. Balance it, use it smartly. That is the best way to become a world class innovator as well. Now, there is a technology, you know what BS stands for. It's sometimes called bullshit, but technology bullshit is this today. Anybody you talk to more or less nowadays say they would love to be in AI, they would love to be in machine learning, they would love to be in IoT, they would love to do things on blockchain. Nothing wrong, right? Technology is not sufficient. Technology is never sufficient for a successful innovation. If I tell my mother my phone has lithium polymer battery, right? She doesn't give a damn because it doesn't make any sense to her. So what makes sense to her is the benefits of technology. If I tell her, mom, my the phone has gorilla glass, she doesn't give a damn because gorilla glass, the only thing she knows is gorilla because she's from Mysore and she knows the zoo. But gorilla glass benefit is that if you drop from a certain height, it will not break the display. Now you and me as world class innovators should completely focus on the benefits of technology. If I use blockchain, fine. If I don't use blockchain, it's still fine. But can I make my records of land records which are very, very, very safe and tamper proof? That is the benefits of technology. Now, today, the 95% of them border on this. They always boast that they have this technology and that technology. It doesn't make any difference unless you sell the benefits of technology. Very important, especially today, because don't get carried away by this notion of technology. Challenge with the why and so what the benefits of technology. Something happens to these innovators is when they get excited about their innovation, they think somebody will roll a red carpet and the idea will sell by itself. That's the farthest truth that I have seen. The art of selling, if you are a good reader, vivid reader, you would have come across, or you should read books by Zig Ziglar, who is supposed to be the smartest seller on earth. So he has written a lot of books and videos and stuff like that. So he says to focus on what's in it for me. Like I said, if you tell me my battery has, quad core and 4500 milliampere hour, my sisters or my mother will not give anything out of it. They said, what does it mean? Right? So what's in it for me? With this, your usage, you can charge once in 2 days. That's what's in it for me. It doesn't need to be told that it is through lithium polymer or whatever it is, right? So what's in it for me is the benefit that you're offering. Focus on that. And Zig Ziglar says, use the concept of selling. Stop selling, right? But start telling. Tell them how it helps them. Tell them how it is useful to them. Then they will make the decision anyway if they see value. If it was not, there would only one Maruti car, not a Maruti to Audi to Porsche. So selling is not about you; it's about the person who is listening to you. There should be a genuine interest, right? When you walk out of a supermarket, people will be waiting to sell you a credit card. Most of us, honestly, don't want to meet them because we don't want anything to be sold. So the same happens when you are selling. People don't want you to sell to them. But if you can tell them, if you can help them, they'll be happy to do so. Now, the F word, not what you think, it's the failure word. I think we have made too much of a fuss about this. Nobody wants, nobody should aim to fail fast, right? I think the idea, why should the fail fast is a flawed concept to me because it says that there is a certain amount of failures that all of us have a quota. And once you finish that quota, you will end up with success. No. For example, Angry Birds took 51 versions. A vacuum cleaner took 3,200 prototypes. Intuit was killed 21 times. So it could be, and Edison took 10,000 experiments. So it could be anything to any one of us. We could hit it the first time, we could hit it the 1,000th time, and we don't know. So the only failure definition that you should have is that it did not work as per plan. Okay, I think if you use that, the result does not meet the plan. A lot of things around negativity and a flawed word of concept of failure will be sorted out. Just don't overemphasize or anything. Okay, I did something. The expectation was this, the plan was this, but it did not meet it. So I think that will solve a lot of issues, and the failure will not become like as if you, like I said, fail fast is not necessarily true, because it doesn't mean anything. I think you should be learning fast. That's the more important thing, right? Now we have covered 10, but I always believe that if you do what you're expected to do, we will be called average. Because what is the big deal, right? You were hired to do something and you're doing it. So it's fine. What is the problem? So you should always give extra, always. So I'm going to give you one extra too. So the 11th input from me is fitness and fun. When do you learn something the best is when you're relaxed. And when are you relaxed is when you have fun. Okay, if somebody, you're in an ATM, imagine, and there is somebody suddenly who comes in and points a knife or gun at you, that's, you're not having fun there. You might even forget your pin, which is just 4 letters which you have been using for 24 years. The whole idea is the opposite of that. How do you relax? So you should have mental and physical fitness, and with that you can have fun, which will help you, make you very relaxed, with which you can learn. When you are relaxed, you get more ideas. When you are relaxed, you get much more positivity, and when both of this will help you become world class innovators, right? So this is what I wanted to share. I would be very happy to discuss some of the questions or queries that you might have. I also have a TEDx on like on the YouTube, and like Nirmal said, there are a couple of books also on cartoons if you would like to read. My email is this. My LinkedIn is this as well. So I would be happy to take some questions if anybody has.
So there are a few questions in the Q&A tab, if you can take them now.
Okay, Q&A tab. Let me stop sharing. Yeah, I see it here. Okay. Okay, Amit Raman. So thanks. Yeah. Um, Wanted your opinion on how and when to curtail innovation in startups to drive focus on execution rather than being innovative without having a fantastic Amit, because the problem is the fascination with technology and innovation. So there is no company which can afford to do only long term planning, right? Only thinking of the future. You should have a balance of present and future. So there are different ways you can look at how you call your product that is available to sell, but it is always important that there is a value in the current product which you can use for future, which you can for future roadmap building. So that means you can start with something very simple. Let us take the mobile phone for example. It started with a basic function of hearing, then a display was added, then the touch was added. Now for example, even from the latest um, how do you say, expectations of people, that when you travel on a flight, in the early days you had to literally switch off the phone, right? Do you remember? So today that same phone, they have built in something called an airplane mode, which all of us use. So those are the needs that changes. So it's important to have a starting point, and you would be surprised that many companies have done this. um, HP started making urinal flush, okay, before they became what they became. So Motorola started with doing something about battery eliminator charger repair, right? So it is nothing wrong to change, but it is important to have something, a stick in the ground, and say, this is what we want to sell. Let's see how we are doing it and how well we can do it. So I think like I said, in the artist, scientist, and industrialist role, you have to go through all phases before even you can call something an innovation. So somewhere in the scientist role, Amit, you can make a call whether you can go to the next stage and make a product to sell or not. I hope it helped. Karthik, please recommend a book on selling by Zig Ziglar. Yeah, Karthik, so there are multiple books and even videos I'd suggest you to have a look at. So The Art of Selling is a very famous book. So Art of Selling is a very well published and read book globally. But he also has audio podcasts, etc., etc. I subscribe to his LinkedIn channel as well. If you're on LinkedIn, That would be another place to pick it up as well, Karthik. Francis, very motivating and informative. Thank you. Yes, it's very important for social innovation as well. Uh, Wonderful, Francis. It's something that I will be happy to learn from you as well. And it's excellent that what you're doing, and please continue to do so. Thank you, Ranganatham. Thanks for your feedback. Okay, Francis will improve my feed. Thank you, Francis, again. Um, how come large number of innovations take place during major wars? It's so okay. Maybe thanks for that point, Francis, because there is something that I share in my workshops, because that takes about 2 days, and we're trying to do something in an hour here. So there is something called causality and correlation. That is one of the bigger traps or approaches that people should take to be world-class innovators. So what is causality? Causality is there is a direct cause and effect. Okay, if I hit the table, there is a sound. It's a causality, right? So the direct cause and effect you can establish. Now, correlation is very tricky, and many times it appears as causality, meaning there is no direct connection. That means the two variables go up or down together, or inversely proportional or directly proportional, but they are not causing one another to go up or down. Okay, suppose there are a large number of people on the beach, is one variable. Lot of ice cream sales for the ice cream truck, so both can go up together. But people are not influencing ice cream sales, or ice cream sales are not increasing people on the beach. Both of them are driven by a third variable called temperature, sun, summer, weather, whatever you call it. So that drives both this. So like I said, one can go up, one can go down, but they have a relation. When this goes up, this also goes up, or when this goes down, this also goes down, or when this goes up, the other one comes down. So why I'm saying that is, it's very hard to conclude without being wrong that correlation is causality, and appears to you very, very convincing that it is causality. But that's where it also goes back to Amit's question. The call is it causality or is it correlation? You need to do a lot of data experimentation to establish that correlation. And in the electronics world, because I'm an electronics engineer, there is something called linear time invariant system. So linear means when you give an input, suppose it increases. When you reduce the input, the output also reduces. The time invariance means whichever time you do it, today, tomorrow, yesterday, day after, morning, evening, it is the same. So all these are necessary before you can establish whether major wars are leading to innovations. At the same time, what is true is major changes always creates major changes in the needs. So when there are major changes in the needs, you will definitely need major innovations, Francis. Hope that helped clarify. Ramesh, kindly share your insight on who could be more innovative, the people having more knowledge and experience, or idea generation. Right. So, Ramesh, there are two parts in innovation. Famously, Edison also said it's 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. Right. So, okay, let me give all of you a little mental math. So you don't need paper and pencil. Just listen to me carefully and just type in your answers or make a note of your answer. A bat and a ball cost $110. A bat and a ball cost $110. Um, the bat costs 100 more than the ball. The bat costs 100 more than the ball, $100, whatever you want to take. So what is the cost of the ball? So I repeat one more time. A bat and a ball cost $110. The bat costs $100 more than the ball. What is the cost of the ball? You don't need pencil and paper, and it's not a trick question. Then Arun says, any other answers? I have 10 here. 10, one more 10. Any other answers? 104.5. Okay. Interesting. 90. Okay. Pupesh says 90. Okay. Amit is 10. Arun is 10. Anybody else? What is the cost of the ball? Both of them cost together 110. The bat costs 100 more than the ball. So what is the cost of the ball? Wow, I get 5 from Gyana. So 25 from Mohan. Ankita says 5. Okay. I'll give you the key for this answer. It was a psychological question developed by a psychologist. Those who answered 5 process information analytically. So they're analytical thinkers. Those who got 5 are considered to be analytical thinkers. So I'm pretty sure, Ankita, if you can speak up, if you can, maybe Ankita found 5. She put x equals bat, y equals ball, found solved the equation, found the cost of the ball, and she didn't stop there. Probably she also put back 5 in the equation and verified that still together they cost 110. Now think of this. Which is the right answer? You will come to know very quickly. So those who got 5 are considered to be analytical thinkers. Those who got 10, Amit, Arun, are considered to be intuitive thinkers. So analytical thinkers find, verify their answers. So they make sure the process is that way. Intuitive thinkers are single pass. So they put in something into their head and something comes out and that's it. There is no feedback loop to check. If they had checked 10, they would have got themselves the awareness that is the wrong answer mathematically. But this is an exercise to understand you need both type of people and thinking capacity. Usually both one person does not have both of this analytical as well as intuitive thinking capacity. So what do we do then? So we form teams. That's why we form teams. Innovation is never a solo game, it's always a team game. So what do we do in that is we ensure that people sort of pair up and complement one another for their skills. So who will be more innovative? It's not an answer of which type of skill. You need both. In the problem definition phase you need more analytical thinking. In the solution definition phase you need more creative thinking, and together they can make, if they have a good articulation, they can make a good pitch as well, Ramesh. So Bhupesh, can you share some real stories, your experience helping companies to innovate or create an innovative mindset within their company? Thanks, Bhupesh. So most of my assignments have one thing in common. How do we build a culture of innovation, right? So we all, assuming many of the management students also in this discussion, culture is very simply put. What do you do? What behaviors do you encourage? And what behaviors do you discourage? So let me explain. Suppose I have a company and Bhupesh is working with me in the company. And I say, as a leader of the company, I want punctuality in my company. So when I say 2 o'clock is a meeting, I expect everybody to turn up at 2 o'clock. Okay, fine. Now I invite Bhupesh to the meeting at 2 o'clock, and Bhupesh comes at 2:10. I do nothing. Okay. Next time Bhupesh comes at 2:20. I do nothing. And a new joinee joins Bhupesh's team, and we all three have a meeting. And I call a meeting at 2. Both of them turn up at 2:20. Nothing happens. So reinforcement of behavior is the root of culture. So that means if I don't incentivize Bhupesh coming at 2, and or if I don't penalize Bhupesh for not coming at 2, nothing happens. The exact same thing happens with innovation, Bhupesh. In my experience in companies is, leaders tell me, the CEOs tell me, the MDs tell me, the CTOs tell me, Koushik, we want innovative culture. I said, I'm fine, I can do it for you. But what do you have to do for that is to walk the talk. So what does it mean? So when you have a company and we say, I want my people to be innovative, exact same thing happens that I just explained about the meeting. So the CEO says, the team leader says, the manager says, I want innovation from you. Okay. My manager says to me, I want innovation from you, Koushik. I'm busy with my work. Somebody already asked me, I have to do my regular work, my execution work, and I don't get to time to innovate, or I don't have the skills to innovate. Yes, I don't have the time to go and learn innovation. Now what happens? I don't innovate. So when my appraisal comes, it doesn't matter. I don't get penalized because I didn't innovate, nor I get incentivized because I did innovate. Right? So the whole idea is, if you want to have a culture, you need to make it a part of your prescribed behavior. It's not necessary to penalize and incentivize. You can choose only one, right? A company I know innovated something called nearness allowance. I mean, you would have heard dearness allowance. Nearness allowance is, if you say stay closer to a company within a X range of kilometers, they'll pay you extra because they save on fuel, they help the environment, traffic, everything. So the concept is very different. So my experience are some of the real stories is, when you want to talk about culture, be really grounded. Okay, don't talk big things if you cannot do the small things right. The second experience, literally anybody can innovate. So when I joined my previous company, there were 12 people in the team. I was the head and VP of innovation. So with the same team, before I joined, they used to churn out 60 to 65 products a year. Okay, new products, new 12 NCs as we call it. With this kind of approach, what I talked about innovation in a nutshell today in a more detailed workshop, training, etc. Next year, the same team churned out 167 products with 12 design registrations and 7 patents. Exact same team, not even a single person was added apart from me. This is not about me. Why I'm giving you this example, because Bhupesh asked me, is people have to be given confidence. If you want to make people learn cooking, teach them how to cook. Maybe they can become a better cook, a slow cook, a average cook, but they can cook at least. So the whole idea is give people the opportunity to innovate. And like I said, I incentivized on the other side also. The first and foremost innovation you propose, you will get a mug. The fifth one, you will get a bag. The 10th accepted one. So slowly I'm pushing the bar. Okay, first one, no conditions attached. The first one, you get it. Fifth one, still okay. I'm making you get into the habit of coming up with ideas. The 10th accepted one, now it gets in tougher, right? And the 25th one is even more tougher. So you have to build that. Otherwise, why would somebody work for a company? Is for getting money, to put it simply. Now, if an activity doesn't get that money, why would I do that? And it doesn't have to be money. As you grow in your career, it starts with money, it ends up with respect. So anywhere in between, you have to find a balance of those two. So these are a couple of examples, Bhupesh, that happened with me. Praveen, which would you consider as more important, innovation or operational excellence? I personally feel, Praveen, I have worked with companies who are very, let's say, hard coded into operational excellence, to the extent that the opening workshop I had to break the myth of the difference between improvement and innovation. So operational excellence is always necessary. It's a hygiene factor, right? Innovation, it's not a incompatibility issue here. Innovation is, what you need to understand from innovation perspective is, it is not about doing something you already do a little bit better. That's the efficiency part. In the matrix, we call it, the problem is known, the solution is known. So you improve the solution. But in innovation, you can have a quadrant called where the problem is unknown and the solution obviously is unknown, or could be known, because once you know the problem, you can reapply a solution. GPS was made for defense, but it was reapplied to consumer applications that we know today in our mobile phones. So the problem known versus unknown is the key aspect of innovation. What is a problem unknown? Problem unknown are typically problems that exist today, or there are problems that can come in the future. What do you mean problems coming in the future? Let's take the car example again. Today, accidents happen because cars did not have emergency brake, because there is a reaction time before the driver brakes, and hence accident can still happen. In the future, there can be new kinds of problem. So those who follow technology would know this. There is a roadmap for autonomous vehicle. Autonomous vehicle is, imagine the car inside has no steering. So that means there is no need for windshield either. There is no need for front and back. So there is no driver in it, right? Now imagine that car exists in 2030 and you have that car. So you are getting out of office. You want the car to come and pick you up in the office. So the car is coming empty, remember, because you're yet to get into that. It hits someone, meets with an accident. So who should be going to jail now? Who should be punished? You are not in the car. You might be owner, but you're not in the car. You're not driving it, and there is nothing in the car to arrest because there is no person. Or when the car is coming, it meets with a puncture. Today, the driver fixes it. Tomorrow, who will fix it? So all sorts of problems that can come in the future is about innovation. Now, operational excellence can kill companies because the mentality needed for a Six Sigma kind of an approach and for innovation are quite different. This is the same opinion that Vijay Govindrajan also came up with, that you cannot have, in fact, 3M was known for innovation. Somewhere in between, they hired a GE guy for as their head, and there is a lot of case studies you can look up to it. But the summary is their innovation went down because they focused too much on Six Sigma. So short answer, Praveen, is a balance. Okay, I think we have done with the questions, Nirmal. Back to you.
Yeah, sure. Participants, if you have any more questions, kindly post it in the Q&A tab. If you have no further questions, then probably we'll conclude the session. Yeah, thank you, Praveen.
Yeah, thank you, Praveen.
So I'm guessing no more questions. Thank you, Dr. Koushik. Very insightful session. We were expecting a lot many more participants. I guess there's a Startup India program happening at the same time. So a few of our startup members had opted for going, attending the preliminary session. Thank you. Really great, examples and insights that you have pointed out to. I'm sure many of the participants would take great inputs. Again, the presentations the presentation will be shared on your consent with the participants if you're okay with it. Otherwise, we also have the recordings of the session in case someone wants to take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have any
I will
further questions.
share a handout because there is some IP part which I need to take care of, which you can share with everyone.
Perfect.
Recording is fine, not a
Yeah,
problem.
sure. That's perfect. Thank you, participants. I think great learning. Look forward to having you again next weekend. We have a couple of sessions lined up. And thank you, Dr. Koushik, once again. Thanks for your time and thanks for taking this effort.
No problem. It was a pleasure. I think the questions were very thoughtful as well. I think people are
Absolutely.
experienced in this area to come up with these questions.
Absolutely.
I'm on LinkedIn. If you are interested, we can connect there and have a chat.
Sure. We'll share your connects with all the participants over a mail too.
Sure.
Sure.
Done.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a good
Yeah.
day.
Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good 2021.
Same. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.